One of the simplest and easy ways to get your seeds started in the garden is direct seeding. One of the negatives to direct seeding is birds love to pull out those seeds. How can we stop it? That's what this video is all about coming up. A few years ago, I was doing a podcast with my friend Jody Roebuck over in New Zealand, and he was telling me about a technique that he came up with to help stop birds from pulling all of his seeds out of the ground before they had a chance to germinate. The idea here is pretty simple. Plant your seeds in the ground, lay your shade cloth on the ground, and then treat the seeds as you normally would. Water can easily penetrate through the seeds, and birds can't. In terms of what shade cloth to use, really, there's nothing super special about it, I've found. Jody has suggested using 70% shade cloth. This is 70% shade cloth right here. I don't know if you can see me through this. The denser shade cloths, the ones with the tighter knit, I find work a lot better for seedlings, because if you don't time this right, you can actually get seedlings growing up through the shade cloth. They send out cotyledons on the other side, and now you've essentially kind of sewn your shade cloth to the bed. You don't want to do that, so you do want to make sure you get a denser shade cloth, something like 70% or higher, and you also want to make sure you are timing it right, so when the crops start to emerge, that they are lifting the shade cloth, and if you see them at all poking through the mesh in the shade cloth, you know it's time to pull that shade cloth up. When it comes to buying shade cloth isn't cheap, especially if you want to buy quality, if you want to get the ends sewn in. This was about $160 for an 8 by 50 foot piece, 160 bucks. It's not the cheapest thing, but this will last. This should last me, 10, 15 years. So I'm not so worried about the cost in the near term, knowing that this is going to last me a very long time. When you're buying shade cloth, things you need to think about: what density you're going to use, what price. Do you want the ends sewn in? I would highly recommend getting the ends sewn in just like this. That prevents curling, it prevents fraying. Do you want grommets installed? What color are you gonna get? I like black, it tends to blend in with the landscape. And then you also wanna think about how long and how wide are you getting your shade cloth? What are you gonna use it for? This is 8 by 50 feet. I wanted it this dimension for a few reasons. My beds are 50 foot long, my longest bed, so I wanted to be able to cover a full bed length. I wanted it 8 feet wide so I could cover potentially 2 beds at one time, including the pathway in between. I didn't want to just get one piece of shade cloth to cover one bed and then say, well, what if I ever needed to cover 2? Then I'm stuck. You can always fold it over. It's actually cheaper to get one that is twice as wide than it would be to get 2 pieces that are half as wide. So 1 plus 1 in this case equaled 6, where I just got the 2. Now, one other place you can look for shade cloth is places like Home Depot. They sell it for patios. This is a shade cloth that I bought at Home Depot. That's what you see behind me on the ground. This is 6 feet by 50 feet long. I actually found this on clearance at my local Home Depot, and this whole roll was $21. So $21 for essentially half or 3/4 of what cost me $160 online. So look around at your local hardware stores. You may be able to find this on clearance at some point. Now, it's tan, it's not my favorite, but tan, as you can see in the background, it doesn't look so bad. What percentage is this shade cloth? They don't even label it, but it's obviously a pretty high percentage. Looking at it, I would guess it's somewhere around 80, 90% density. Well, would that work if Jody's suggesting 70? I found that it has worked. Now let's take a look at this bed here, where I've planted some cover crops and flowering crops to try and bring in pollinators. So if we take a look at this Home Depot shade cloth, here's just a measure of density right here. You can probably still see me through this, but definitely denser than the shade cloth that I ordered online. Again, probably 80, 90% shade cloth. Pulling it back, we can see the bed that's exposed below. This is buckwheat. I have some clover planted in here. I also have some sunflowers planted in here. This is also one of those things, it's pretty simple. You can't screw it up. Buy some shade cloth, put it on the seeds, and you should be good to go. Over the years, this has become one of my favorite garden tools, and one that I would highly recommend to everybody. It's one of those pieces of technology that you wouldn't expect to be as useful as it is. It's passive, it always works. It's not the cheapest to get started, but if you buy quality and you buy it right, it will last a very, very long time. And trust me, it'll save you a lot of stress when those seeds that you planted actually germinate, and the birds that wanted those seeds just have to fly by and go try and find a more vulnerable seed source, maybe over at your neighbor's house. So try Shadecloth if you're doing a lot of direct seeding and having problems with birds getting your seeds. That's all for this one. Thanks for listening. Until next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.